Hello, my name is Caroline Powledge, and this is my Life Literacy Map. In this video presentation, I am going to show you my top 10 favorite books growing up. It's really hard to pick top 10 favorite books because I read a lot as a child, but these are my top 10 and I hope that you enjoy it. The first book I'm going to talk about is D.W. Flips by Mark Brown. D.W. Flips has always been my number one favorite book as a child. Anytime anyone asks me my favorite book, D.W. Flips is always the one that comes to mind. D.W. is the sister of Arthur from the TV show Arthur on PBS, and this book is about D.W. being in gymnastics and her wanting to master a cartwheel on the balance beam. This was what inspired me to want to join gymnastics as a child. Sadly, I was not as good as D.W. and could never master a cartwheel on the balance beam. However, she was able to master it at the end of the book, and she accomplished her goal. Growing up, I always admired her for her sass and her spunk, and always having confidence in herself to achieve anything that she set her mind to. My next favorite book is Butterfly Kisses by Bob and Brooke Carlyle. This book emphasizes the love and everlasting relationship of a father and a daughter. This book was always so incredibly special to me because this was a book exclusively for my dad and I. We would curl up in my bed before I would go to sleep, and we would read this book together. I always loved this book because I always thought I looked like the little girl, and I always thought that the man looked like my dad. This song was also very special to me growing up because every time I heard this song, it would be played at every father-daughter dance. And I would always get a little emotional because of how much I love my dad. And one day when I get married, I hope that this is the song that we play at my wedding that we dance to. This next book I'll be talking about is The Very Hungry Caterpillar by Eric Carle. I always loved this book for its illustrations. All of the bright colors and the shapes always grabbed my attention whenever I read this book. This book actually became very important because later in second grade, we had a project to do. And this project consisted of having a butterfly and learning the metamorphosis of a butterfly. So, we had someone in our class that had a big bush, and in that bush there were tons of little caterpillars. And in that bush, we took the caterpillars and we brought them to class. And we had a little tree, and we would have the caterpillars all lined up and all filled with leaves. Once those caterpillars ate all the leaves that they could, they'd wrap themselves in the cocoon, like the very hungry caterpillar in the book, and they would hang themselves on the branch. Soon enough, they would transform into this beautiful butterfly. I'll never forget how excited I was when we were sitting in class one day, and the butterfly was literally coming out of its cocoon. Everyone screamed and jumped and were so excited to watch this butterfly transform. And it was really cool because it was a monarch butterfly, and those are always so pretty. My next favorite book is Green Eggs and Ham by Dr. Seuss. I absolutely loved all of Dr. Seuss's books, but this one in particular. In this book, Sam I Am is trying to convince the narrator to eat green eggs and ham in different ways and in different situations. This book always kind of puzzled me because I never thought green eggs were a thing, when actually they are, if you add just a little bit of food coloring. At the time, I never liked eggs, and I never thought I ever would, but that was because I never gave them a try, just like the narrator. This book is incredibly special to me because at the end of preschool, we would go out for recess for a little bit, and then we would come back to our classroom, and there would be a mystery reader there to read to us at the end of the day. On this particular day, the mystery reader was my brother. I was so excited when we got to the room because he had a Dr. Seuss hat on. He read this book, and shortly after, when we got home, I asked my mom to make me eggs, and I ended up loving them. This next book I'm going to be talking about is One Fish, Two Fish, Red Fish, Blue Fish by Dr. Seuss. Another one of my favorites because of the rhyming and the illustrations and the bright colors. This story is about a little boy named Jay and a little girl named Kay and their many adventures with their friends and their pets. This book always made me think about my pets and the many adventures that I wanted to do with them. And this book also helped me to be a really good counter. I was one of the best counters in preschool, and I was able to count to 100 in preschool too. True fact. My next favorite book that I'm going to be talking about is Walt Disney's Cinderella. Cinderella is my absolute favorite Disney princess. The story of Cinderella was always inspiring to me as a young girl because of all of the different situations that Cinderella had to overcome. Her stepmother being abusive, her stepsisters being mean, and the cat following along with the stepsisters and stepmother. However, along the way, she had her animal friends to help her, as well as her fairy godmother. I know I can say that I've had different situations in my life where I felt that I could relate to Cinderella. No matter challenges I overcame or had to go through, I always tried to have the best attitude about it. And at the end of the day, there was a light at the end of the tunnel, and Cinderella was able to overcome it. And so did I. The next book I'm going to be talking about is Walt Disney's 101 Dalmatians. I was absolutely obsessed with the 101 Dalmatians. As a little girl, I always dreamed of having my very own Dalmatian. The story of 101 Dalmatians was always cool to me because I always had a fascination with London, England. And I also wanted to have 101 dogs. This book and the movie inspired me to be the biggest animal lover on the planet, preferably dogs. My next favorite book that I'm going to be talking about is Ginny B. Jones and Her Big Fat Mouth. I probably read every single Ginny B. Jones book, but I chose this one because it was the first one I ever read. Ginny B. Jones reminded me a lot of D.W. from Arthur, which was probably why I was so drawn to her. The similarities were that they were very spunky, had a little bit of sass, and always craved adventure. I could always relate to Ginny B. Jones, especially in this book, because it mentions that she got in trouble for talking. And I always got in trouble for talking to my neighbors in class when I shouldn't have been. And another thing that Ginny B. Jones had in common with myself was that she always made unique relationships. For instance, in this story, she made a unique relationship with the janitor, and I could say that I had a unique relationship with the lunch lady. She's such an awesome little girl, and I still admire her to this day. My next favorite book that I'm going to be talking about is The Giving Tree by Shel Silverstein. Growing up, I didn't understand what this book was going to mean to me as an adult. This book I get very emotional about because of the way it's written and the message that it's trying to convey. As a child, I never understood the message that it was trying to convey until my mom had to explain it to me. My mom taught me that good or bad, nothing lasts forever, and, sadly, that no one lasts forever. This I could never understand because I never had my first family death until I was a senior in high school, and once I did, I definitely understood what the giving tree meant. When that person passed away, I missed all of the memories, the phone calls, and everything that that person meant to me. But I still had their memory, and I still had their mausoleum to go to. This book is such a great book that every child should read, and this is definitely one I will have in my classroom. My last but not least favorite book is The Clique by Lacey Harrison. I've loved the series, but this particular one was my favorite. The setting is in a very nice town in a private school. I, growing up in a private school, could relate. Also, I could relate to one of the main characters, named Claire Lyons. Claire Lyons had to switch schools and really struggled in her new environment. She struggled making friends and was bullied because of her appearance and not having enough stuff. I could relate to Claire because when I switched schools, I was definitely made fun of. People thought I was weird, and I was always nice to people who weren't considered cool. However, at the very end, I did find my friend group and I was happy, and that's exactly what happened with Claire Lyons. This book series taught me a lot about girls and how to handle them, and how to always have the best attitude, and you'll come out on the other side and see the silver lining. Thank you so much for your time. I truly hope that you enjoyed watching my life literacy map.